Hi all, welcome to this session on GS2 answer writing. This is the second part of GS2 answer writing session. In this session, we'll be discussing about fine nuances of answer writing of international relations portion of GS2. In the previous sessions, we have already covered history, geography, society, and polity. If you have not watched previous sessions, I'll seriously advise you to first watch them in the sequence that I have made, like history, geography, society, and then polity, and then IR, because there is lot of repetitions in these sessions, and in the present sessions I'll be skipping those repetitions. So as you can see on screen, I am author of Decode Ethics book, which is already doing well. This is my upcoming book on world history portion of GS1 mains. You can download my notes and answer copies from my blog. It is a WordPress blog, muditjanblog.wordpress.com. You can join my Telegram group and take guidance like 10,000 other aspirants, or you can visit my YouTube channel for other exam related strategies. So as I've been telling you about my book, ethics book has been doing quite well. I hope that my history book will also do as well as ethics book has done. This is just a brief syllabus, brief index of what ethics and history book cover. So ethics book has both theory as well as previous year solved questions. And similarly, the history book has theory as well as solved questions. Ethics book has contribution by 25 selected officers, and 5 or 6 officers have contributed in world history book. So let us now start with today's session, that is IR2, GS2 IR. So first, let me tell you something about IR in brief. It is a very important component of means GS2 paper. If you see previous year question papers, by the way, you can see the detailed IR analysis of previous year question papers on my blog. I repeat the name of post, detailed IR analysis. Just Google detailed IR analysis and in front of that write Muditjan blog. I'm sure you will get the link. So if you see that analysis, you will see that about 4 questions are asked every year in IR. So these mostly these are of 12.5 marks each, or 15 marks, or 10 markers are not that much asked in IR. So at least 50 marks of paper out of 250 is for IR. So IR is very important. I made a huge mistake in my first attempt, that was 2013. I did not study IR at all, and that year 8 questions were asked in IR. So it was one of the major reasons that I did not score that well in GS2 in 2013. So overall 33 questions have been asked in last 7 years. Uh, this is very important. Question are of following types. They can be purely current, they can be purely static, or they can be mix of current and static, as we discussed in quality video of GS2. Now, something more on previous year question papers. So as I already told, in 2013, 8 questions of 10 marks each were asked, that is 80 marks out of 250. So two of them were static, rest were current based. Static questions were Gujarat Doctrine and something related to World Bank and IMF. In 2014, 5 questions were asked. Two of them were again static, like ITA, that is Information Technology Agreement, and on WTO. So from here only you can see that this is an international body, this is an international body, this is an international body. Static questions are asked every year on one or other international body. So you have to read bodies, make notes for them, make 2 or 3 page notes for each of the body, like 2 pages notes for WTO, two for World Bank, two for IMF, and so on. And then from 2015 to 2019, every year 4 questions have been asked. And in 2015, questions were very direct and very easy. But things changed quite a lot in 2016 and 2017 when very tricky questions were asked in IR. To example, a few McBride Commission of UNESCO. Uh, I even today I don't know what is McBride Commission, because in 2016 it was asked and I didn't write mains in 2016. Then ECOSOC was asked in 2017. I wrote mains that year, and this question was also asked in 2017 related to Indian diaspora in Southeast Asia. So while this question requires static knowledge of UNESCO plus something historical related to UNESCO, that is McBride Commission, this question again requires static knowledge of bodies. This question requires historical knowledge of uh, India's relation with Southeast Asia and something about diaspora in Southeast Asia. Even if you don't know, you can make points from here and there, because when we study so much for GS, such questions can be tackled. But then, if you know exactly what to write, then you will definitely score well. So these are some tricky questions that were asked in 2016 and 17, and let us see how we can deal with them in the coming slides. Again, you can pause the video later and you can have a detailed look at this map. Uh, this map I made it myself. So what it lists is the countries that have been asked by UPSC, like US has been asked quite often, Pakistan, Afghanistan, uh, China. Uh, Regions that have been asked by UPSC as such, African region as whole has been asked once or twice. West Asia region has been asked by UPSC quite often. So look, East policy was asked, and the previous question also we saw Southeast Asia. So this region has been asked. Then SARC has been asked, and Central Asia region. So I predicted that UPSC will be asking Central Asia region in 2019, and this happened. So because till 2019 Central Asia region was not asked by UPSC, so hence I made following prediction. Likewise, my prediction for 2020 is for question from one of these four. Australia has never been asked, Russia has not been asked till now, Latin America is not asked, and Europe as such has not been asked. They have asked about WTO, they have asked about World Bank, IMF, but not Europe per se. So these four countries or regions, pay extra focus on them if at all they are in news. Static question from them can also be asked. Like in 2013, Japan was not much in news, but then a question on Japan came in 2013. So it can happen, but then if it is in current affairs, do not skip these four regions. Also, bodies which have been asked till now include IMF, it has been asked twice, WTO thrice, UNESCO twice, ECOSOC, uh, NDB, AIIB, World Bank, UNSC. So you have to prepare GS-2 static bodies notes. Now, simply Google GS-2 static bodies note Mudit Jain blog. You will find my notes that I prepared for static bodies, but then they won't be enough because IR is very dynamic topic. So I'll advise you that even if you are downloading and reading them, update them from current. For example, there are bodies now like quad. So that body is not available in my notes because my notes are old. So you can download them, but then use them only as a reference material. Random questions have been asked, as I already told, McBride and ITA. Doctrines that have been asked are Gujarat Doctrine, Look East, Look West was also asked, and String of Pearls. So these are the focus areas that you have to worry about as far as IR is concerned. Now the sources for IR. So these are the sources that I followed for current for entire GS. That is Hindu, Vision Monthly Magazine, and Insights. I've already discussed about them in previous session. For IR per se, you can follow selected articles of IDSA, but then it is very tricky. because once you start reading IDSA, there is no end to it. So you have to be careful. You can filter according to the authors of article, particular authors. If you think they write well, read only their articles, or particular regions. If you, for example, I told about Russia, Latin America, Europe and Australia. If there is some article on IDSA related to these four, do read them. So you have to be selective, you have to be strategic. And East Asia Research Program site, again, this site is also good. uh, this particular question uh, this particular question, not this question, you can easily answer if you read one of the particular article that came that year on East Asia Research Program. So but then you cannot read everything under the sun, you have to be selective. Sources for static, although I did not read this book ever, because I was very skeptic of reading it. Plus, I did not like IR as such. This was the reason I skipped IR altogether in 2013. But then I scored less, and then I realized importance of IR. So I focused on IR from 2014 attempt and read current affairs only. Uh, but then, if you do not have any knowledge about historical aspects of relations, you have to refer some or other static book. I am not aware whether this book has been updated, new editions have come or not, and what new material regarding static is going around in market these days. It is up to you to find that. This was the source I know, so I have mentioned it here. Apart from that, you can always Google. Now Google is best teacher, Google is best resource of static bodies. So you can Google and make your own notes out of them, like I made and uploaded same on my blog. Note making for IR, let me tell you in few minutes regarding note making on IR, because it is very tricky. uh, make notes region wise, like uh, if the page heading is West Asia, ensure that all the news related to West Asia is together. If next 4 5 pages, even if 6 pages, 10 pages, but ensure that all the pages are together of West Asia. So further divide country wise. So first country, if it is UAE, if it is Saudi Arab here. So keep all the news related to UAE here, keep all the news related to Saudi here. Likewise, for if your topic is Europe, then further divide like Western Europe countries and Eastern Europe countries. Because what happens that UPSC asks regions per se, not often it will ask one of particular European country like France or Germany. If at all question comes from Europe, it will be dealing with entire Europe. So if your notes of European countries are not at one place, you won't be able to answer that question comprehensively. So that is why first point is that your notes must be arranged region wise and further segregated country wise. Now, if it is still confusing, go to my blog and see 2017 mains IR notes. So in this file, I have shared my soft copy notes of 2017 mains that I made for IR. You can have a look at this file, and then you will clearly understand what I am trying to say. When it comes to focusing, I've already told you focus areas, but then focus more on neighbors, especially China. Even in this diagram, you can see that neighbors have been focused more. So this area, this particular area is very important as far as IR is concerned. So focus more on neighbors. Uh, then develop a temporal sense of relations. So this by this I mean, how are the relations between India and say Southeast Asia before 1947, then how were the relation in 1950s, then 60s, 70s, 80s. So there you should have a chronological sense of thing, a temporal sense of things, that will help you in answering questions like this one, Indian diaspora, as well as other questions. So it is always easier to remember things when you read it in chronology. So focus on neighbors, focus on temporal sense. And apart from that, major focus area still have to be current affairs, but then as I told you, notes of static bodies have to be prepared. Now let us come to answer writing, particularly for IR. So as I've told you before, my structure remains the same, overall structure, that is intro, news, background. We'll divide question into subparts and then handle each subpart in different headings. We'll answer in points. We'll mention paper specific keywords related to IR. We'll draw a diagram and then conclude. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points you would have by now, you would have known them, you would have understood and learned, because we have already had 3 or 4 sessions and I have been repeating these points in every video. So if you are directly watching this video and have not referred previous videos, please watch in order as I already told in the beginning of session. Also, a disclaimer, as I told in GS-1 videos, uh, those who have PSIR background or PSIR optional, they need to be careful when they write answers of IR. I am not aware about the answer strategy that you guys follow for PSIR, but then for GS, you have to write in points. You don't have to focus on depth, you have to focus on dimensions. So these 2 points you should keep in mind when you write an answer of GS, that it should not be in para, it should be in points, and it should have more dimension rather than focusing on a single dimension in depth. So keep these points in mind. Diagram, as I've told here that we'll draw diagram. So it is very obvious that maps of India and world, as apart from that hub and spoke diagram or a flow chart, uh, etc., can be easily drawn in IR. Try to draw world map. If even if you are not a student of geography, I told you in geography answer writing video how can you draw map. Like, never draw entire map at once, draw map in parts. Also, if you don't want to draw map as such, you can draw blocks. Like, this is US, this is South America, this is Europe, uh, then here is Africa. So you can draw blocks as such. This is Australia. Do show India properly. Do not draw block for India. So you can draw world map even in this format. Nobody is stopping you. Now let us come to keywords for IR. So as I've been telling you that paper specific keywords have to be written in answers. Uh, this is a short list of keywords that can be mentioned, like global north, global south, domino effect, checkbook, diplomacy, that we associate with China, uh, balance of power, soft power, hard power, multipolarity, unipolarity, people to people contacts, real politic. The entire list of 30 keywords is uploaded on my blog. You can download it from there. You can make your own list, use the list that I've uploaded as a reference, and then add 10, 20, 30 keywords. The idea is to have a list, a broad list, revise them 4 to 5 times, and then use them. There is no point of having a list and then not writing those keywords in answer. Uh, it is very important to mention paper specific keywords, as I've already stressed in previous videos. So please take this advice very seriously. Now let us discuss some questions and some sample answers that I wrote in few of my tests. So it is a mixed type question, that is current as well as static. I have made this question myself. So the question is India's relations with South America continent have not been fully realized. Discuss highlighting country specific engagements realized and potential areas. What multilateral, regional, and bilateral steps can be taken to boost the relations? I think I have made this question myself and it is not from any test series, but then I'm not sure as I've read this question because it looks quite good. So I don't think I can frame such a broad question. But then now let us start with what we did in previous videos. As we read question, we try to identify the keywords in the question because we have to define them or write facts related to them. Plus we divide the question in subparts. So let us divide this question in subparts. The next question you yourself will divide into subparts. So let me do it for you for the first question. India's relations with South American continent have not been fully realized. Now this is the first part, that you have to prove that relations are not fully realized. This becomes your first part. This is anyway a statement, and as I told you in previous sessions, you have to address the statement. Do not directly jump to the question that is asked. Even if UPSC has written 2-3 lines before a question, those 2-3 lines are very important. So second part, let us see, discuss highlighting country specific engagements realized. Now this is the second part. What are the engagements realized? This is the third part. What are the potential areas? Then what multilateral, regional and bilateral steps can be taken to boost the relations? Some of you would commit a mistake that you will take this entirely as one part and then just write steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I'll rather do is keep this as a separate part. So this multilateral steps becomes my fourth part, regional steps is fifth part, and bilateral steps is my sixth part. So overall, I have identified 6 subparts in this question. Now, if you had identified only 3, then by now you would be aware that if you have identified 3 subparts, you have to write 5 points each for each subpart. But now you have identified 6 subparts. So 15 marker question and 6 subparts means you have to write only 2.5, that is 2 or 3 points per part. So more the number of subparts you identify, it becomes easier to handle the question. Now, here I have written a disclaimer that I have given this question because this particular continent is yet to be asked by UPSC, as you have already seen in the analysis. So this is the structure. Divide the question, underline the question in question paper, address each part. 6 parts I have already told you. 15 marks is equal to 15 points. 6 parts is equal to 2 or 3 points per part. Introduction, I have told you that we have to define the keywords. We have to mention any facts related to keywords. So also we have to mention the news background if any. So South American continent per se is the keyword in this question. You cannot define it, but then you can write facts related to it. You can write a news background related to it if at all South America has been in news of late. So this will take care of introduction. Then you make different headings for each part. That is, your question will have 6 headings, heading 1 to heading 6, and then you will write 1, 2 points for each part, 1 and 2 for each part. Underline important keywords. This is very important from point of view of presentation as told before. Now let us see some of the keywords that you can write. As the question has asked you steps that can be taken, so you can write that you should take track 1 and track 2 diplomatic steps. You can write about India's efforts with WTO regarding trade in South America. You can write about South America's support for permanent seat in UNSC for India, then you can always use this keyword. It is very much in now that strategic partnership or special strategic partnership. India has been forging such partnerships with almost all the countries. So you can mention this keyword in any answer. Now, as far as map is concerned, just draw a rough map of South America. Nobody is expecting you to draw something huge, something very clear. That what I mean that every line of South America map should be correct. No, it is not expected of you. As I drew this map in 1 second, you can draw a rough map, and then here show India, and just you can draw these sort of arrows. So if India is giving South America say technology, then say South America is giving India pulses. So it is a very basic diagram. Now trust me, 9 out of 10 people won't have the imagination to draw even this basic diagram. But then if you are drawing it, you are giving something new to the examiner, and you will definitely get that +1 extra mark as we have discussed in the previous videos. So always try to draw a map. It is all about mindset. I had not prepared this diagram for this session before. I made it just now. It is very basic, very simple. Your keywords here can change. Just draw a map and use such arrows and lines. And lastly, write a conclusion. Just 1 or 2 lines. Just summarize your answer. So coming to question number 2, India's Look West policy has reaped huge rewards in last few years. What are its major effects on Indo-Pak relations? 200 words, 12.5 marks. Now, identify the number of subparts in this question yourself. Please do not cheat with yourself. Be honest. Do not forward the video. I'll be anyway discussing. Just give it a try. Take 5 or 10 seconds and try to identify the number of subparts. So, how many of you, I cannot take a count, I cannot take a vote here. So I hope that at least some of you would have been able to identify 4 subparts in this question. Now let me tell you what are the 4 subparts. So when you get a question like look west policy or look east policy, or what are the implications of Gujarat doctrine, then the policy or the doctrine itself becomes one very important part of question. Nowhere in this question it has been asked of you that what is look west policy. But then if you do not define it, if you do not mention facts related to it, if you do not mention its background, you won't be doing justice to the answer or the question. So this is in itself the first part of this question. Secondly, read this keyword in last few years. That look west policy has reaped huge rewards in last few years. What are its major effects on Indo-Pak relations? So anyway, this was the statement. Now you have to write about this statement, as I've been stressing from 3 or 4 last sessions. You cannot skip this statement. So you have to prove that previously this policy wasn't reaping rewards, but in last few years it has been doing well. So you can divide this line into 2 such subparts, that previously it wasn't doing well and it is doing well in last 2 years. So this is the second part, this is the third part. And then come to the question that is asked, what are its major effects on Indo-Pak relations. Now, even this can be subdivided into two parts. That is, what are the positive effects and what are the negative effects, if any. So overall, you can say that there are five subparts of the question and not even four. So if you say there are five subparts and it is a 12.5 marker question, so you have to write only 2.5 points per part. That is 2 or 3 points per part. So again saying, more the number of subparts, more easy it will become for you to handle the question. Now again the same rituals. I identified four parts when I was making the PPT, but then here you can see live that I have identified five rather than four parts. So five parts, 2 or 3 points per part. Introduction, I've already told you that you have to define what is this policy, what are the facts related to it, what are the news background. When last year or so, perhaps, Honorable PM visited uh, West Asian region. So if again there is such a visit or a diplomatic visit and it is in news, then you have to mention that news background in your answer. Then make headings for different parts, write the answer in points. I mentioned the subparts here, its effects both positive and negative. Underline the keywords that you can use, as whenever you see West Asia, oil comes into play. So oil diplomacy is a keyword that you can always use in any question related to West Asia. You can fix it. So geopolitics, West Asian region is very important uh, with respect to geopolitics. So this keyword can also be used with West Asia in any question. Similarly, strategic partnership. Uh, Now, almost each and every country in the globe is supporting India's cause for UNSC. So UNSC also you can write, and other keywords which are in current affairs of that year. So keywords can be made not only from static but also from current affairs. Like checkbook diplomacy was a term associated with China's uh, implication of China's presence in Africa. That now Africa is in a debt trap because of Chinese. So you can use that keyword checkbook diplomacy in your answers. So that way, as in when you read current affairs, look for such keywords and just keep adding it to your list. Draw a rough map of West Asia, as I told you in the previous question, or if the question has asked you what are the effects of this on Indo-Pak relations, then you can draw a flow chart like effects, positive, negative, and then you can just write in 2-3 words each here. So this can be a diagram, or you can draw hub and spoke diagram, effects, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So either way, you can try 2 or 3 sort of diagrams in this question. Now moving to the third question. So it is again a current based question, but then it involves a static body as well. Critically comment. This is the first keyword itself, critically comment. As I told you in previous sessions, whenever you encounter critically comment, your eyes and ears should rise, because this is a sort of question in which you have to present both side of views, positive, negative, positive, as well as against the view or in favor of the view. So what critically comment does is that it in itself forms two parts, two subparts. So critically comment on the impact that regional groups and agreements have on WTO. Now, can you identify four subparts in this line itself? So first subpart is positive of regional groups on WTO. Second is negative of regional groups on WTO. Third is negative of agreements on WTO. And fourth is positive of agreements on WTO. So this way, critically comment doubles the number of subparts in itself. Uh, some of you would have taken regional groups and agreements together, but then uh, this is the skill that you have to develop. You always have to look to break the question into more and more subparts, because it will become easy to handle. You will be able to write more dimensions, you will be able to give examiner something new, and then you will get more marks. Then four parts are already there. Can UK solely depend on WTO for ensuring fair trade post Brexit? Now, Brexit is a keyword in this question. So you have to define Brexit when you are dealing with this line. You have to tell what is Brexit, what are the facts related to it, years, reason. So all you have to do is that you have to mention it in two, three, or four lines and not more than that. Can UK solely depend on WTO? Again, this can be divided into two parts because it is a view. Can it depend? It may or it may not. So you can write yes, it can depend, 1, 2, 3 points for that, and no, it cannot depend, 1, 2, 3 points for that. So overall, again, like previous question, you have identified 6 subparts for a 12.5 marker question, and then you have to write only 2 or 3 points for each subpart, and you will give so much of variety in your answer that you will score really well. Same rituals, divide the question, address 6 parts. I've already told you, this has already been told. News background, you will write if anything related to WTO. What is WTO, facts about it. This will come from the static bodies notes that I've already told you that you have to make, or you can refer my notes from my blog. Separate headings, underlining. Now let me tell you keywords. So when you are talking about WTO as a body or a regional groups, agreements, something like as big as Brexit, so geopolitics comes into play from the word go. So geopolitics is something that you can write in every IR answer. When you have WTO, so you will have free trade along with it. So free trade is basically complementary to WTO. Where there is WTO, there is free trade, at least on paper. So you can write free trade whenever you see a question on WTO. Multipolarity and unipolarity, as I told you in the keywords slide, these two keywords fit in really well in this question, because while WTO focuses on multipolarity, regional groups focus on, say, bipolarity or lesser multipolarity. So we are again moving towards a less multipolar world when we are forming such regional groups. Overall multipolarity will exist, but then there are new facets to multipolarity in the present world. So strategic partnership, again I have mentioned it here. Now, as the question dealt with UK and Brexit, so you can draw Europe's rough map. It is tough to draw Europe's map, but then couple of times if you practice, if you have the mindset, you can draw that. Or hub and spoke, you can draw that in any question of GS. So when you are mentioning say impact of regional groups and you have written 3 points, then, and if you have more points in your mind, so just draw a hub and spoke diagram. Lastly, conclude in 1 or 2 lines. A summary, if you skip it, you will lose -1 or at least -2 marks. So do not skip conclusion. I've already emphasized on it in my previous sessions. Now, let us discuss 2 sample answers. The idea is that while going through my answers, we'll try to find my mistakes that I have committed. We'll try to apply the structure that I've told as well as try to find the mistakes. So let us read this question. Despite complementarity of interest and needs, see how I have underlined in the question paper itself. Despite complementarity of interest and needs, India and Central Asia have remained distant for long time. Explain why. So the question is that India and Central Asia have remained away for a long time. You have to tell reasons for that. But then, as the questionnaire says that we have complementary interest and needs, you have to dwell on this as well. This becomes your statement. So first you have to prove that India as well as Central Asia have common needs and interest. So this is the first part. Second, that you have to prove that India and Central Asia have remained aloof, remained distant for a long time. So this is second part. And thirdly, you'll tell what are the reasons. So this is your third part. In what ways can the International North-South Transport Corridor or INSTC help in expanding India's trade and investment links with Central Asia? So as you see, it is a keyword. You will define this. You will mention facts. You will mention news background related to it. And then you will come to that whether INSTC will help in expanding trade and investment or not. So this itself gives you two parts, that yes, it will expand, and last part, no, it won't expand. So overall, you can say that there are five parts of this question. This is not a part. This is just that you have to address this keyword. So INSTC won't become a separate part as such. You have to write about it. So if it is a 15 marker question and you have identified five parts, you have to write 3 points per part. Now let us see what I did in this answer. India and Central Asia have common needs and interests like. So directly I have come to the first part. Ideally, I would say that in this question I missed the introduction. So introduction is not the part of your answer, not the sub part of question, but then if Central Asia has been asked, you should write something about Central Asia first, that Central Asia includes these many countries, or it is uh, anything related to Central Asia, you have to write in the introduction. So first mistake is that I missed the introduction itself. Then this is right. India and Central Asia have common needs. I have told about needs. Then second part we identified was that we have to prove that they have remained distant. But then I have written only two lines for that. Both have remained distant, and this reflects in trade of mere $1.6 billion. This fact must have been in newspaper that year, and thanks to my note making strategy that I remembered this fact. So this is where your own notes will help you a lot. But still I could not uh, answer the question well. Further, the third part was explain why, and I have not made a separate heading of reasons. So, reading this point in themselves, examiner won't understand what I'm trying to write, what I am addressing, which part of question I'm talking about. So here you can see live what is the importance of mentioning the heading. So we have identified three mistakes of mine. I have not written intro. I have not addressed the second part well. I have not made a separate heading. Then the fourth part was trade, investment and link. So reasons I mentioned very well, 6 points, and then I have made a diagram as well. So as I told that we first should define what is INSTC, we should write facts about it. This is my fourth mistake of this answer. I have not done that. So learn from my mistakes, try to attempt this question and then do it holistically. Then I have mentioned about the effects of INSTC, that how it will solve the concerns of trade and investment. I have written 7-8 points, but then if you read these points, you will see that I have only written in favor of INSTC, and I have not mentioned even a single point that uh, where INSTC might fail, where INSTC might not address our concerns of trade as well as investment. So this is the fifth mistake that I have done in this question. Then this is the conclusion that I have written. So conclusion is fine, but then overall 5 mistakes in one question, despite writing number of points like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 points I have written in a 15 marker question. Still, I have not addressed each subpart well. If it is 15 marker question, I have written 17 points, but not addressed the question well. I have made mistakes, so I won't be getting 7, definitely not. But then now let me tell you one uh, good point. I wrote 17 points. This will have psychological impact on examiner. He or she will see that I have written so many points. So despite all these mistakes that I have made, I deserved only 4 marks out of 15 according to me. But then I'll definitely get 5 or 5.5 because I have written so many points, because I have drawn a diagram, because I have mentioned facts from current. I'm mentioning keywords here and there from current affairs. So writing points will definitely help you because quantity matters. Here in this question, I've missed on quality, but then quantity will definitely save me a little. Now, let us see the last question of this session. India's inability to join APEC is not because of lack of interest on her part, but due to variety of other reasons. Explain. So epic is our keyword. We'll define it. We'll write facts. We'll write news background related to it. Then the question says, inability to join epic is not because of lack of interest. So you have to prove this. This becomes your part 1, or epic in itself became your part 1. This became your part 2, but due to variety of other reasons. So this is your part 3. What are the other reasons? Then what are the expected benefits of such a membership for India? You only have to tell expected benefits, so this becomes part 4. And in conclusion you can write some of the gray areas, or that joining APEC would not be uh, the all that we need to do more. So you can mention that aspect in conclusion. Now let us see what I did. Thankfully I've defined APEC. I've written facts about it. uh, I've written news background that India has observer status. Demand, I've written that India has demand of joining APEC since last 2 decades. And then I've said that hence on India's part there is no lack of will. So I've addressed this part and I've addressed this part. Now let us see if I have written enough reasons or not. Reasons, I've made a separate heading. So the mistakes that I did in previous questions, you can see I have rectified them. And this will show you that this makes immediate impact on the reader. Now you know the introduction. You have seen that I've written facts, news background. I'm addressing each part. I've also written headings. So now you are aware that what I am talking about. So I've written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points for that. And lastly, fourth part also I have addressed. I have made separate heading for that as well. That is expected benefits. and then I have written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. I've drawn a diagram as well, and then I have concluded. Conclusion is hence APEC demand is logical and pragmatic and holds good value for India in different fronts. What I told you in answer that you can write some what more needs to be done aspect. I've missed that, but then it is okay. So if it was a 15 marker question, I'll definitely get 6. Without a doubt, I should get 6 because I have addressed each part. I have drawn a diagram. I'm mentioning facts and keywords, as well as I have written 6 plus 6, 12 points along with a diagram. So you can see what sort of answer structure you can follow for IR. The main focus areas or the innovative areas are keywords. Rest of the things remain same and diagram. So when you draw a world map in IR question or map of India, that arrow sort of diagram which I told, it really brings innovation in your answers. uh, More important than answer writing for IR is notes making. That is why in this video I told you how to make notes as well. Go to my blog, check that file 2017 mains IR notes. Again, this is very important because you will be able to answer IR questions holistically only when you have all the notes on your tips. So do look at how to make notes for IR. You have any queries regarding this session, you can ask me on my Telegram group, that is Decode Civils group, or you can watch further videos related to exam related strategies on my YouTube channel. Also, again, I would like to highlight my books, that is Decode Ethics book and Decode History book, which I hope would have been already out in markets by the time this video is published. So thank you. Stay safe. Happy learning.